One of the most important ideas that we've ever talked about on the Fuel Project, I come back to this time and time again, is the trench theory. The trench theory says that all virtue can be broadly divided into two categories, the hard virtues and the soft virtues. The hard virtues are favored by conservatives and are male-coded. The soft virtues are favored by liberals or left-wingers and are female-coded. And ever since the 1967 Cultural Revolution, sometimes called the Love Revolution or the Summer of Love, Western civilization has increasingly been moving in this direction. Indeed, the entire postmodern era can simply be explained as the growing belief that the soft virtues are good and the hard virtues are bad or even evil. We want this is good, but we don't want this, because this is evil. We want to create an entire civilization predicated and based upon only the soft virtues to the abandonment and rejection of the hard virtues. So you'll have heard all of the slogans, love is all you need, in a world where you can be anything, just be kind, nothing is real, love will save the world, the future is female, but masculinity is toxic, feelings over facts, the heart over the head. You'll have heard people talking about living in a post-truth society because we don't want hard truth, objective truth anymore. Everything's subjective. It's a society of safety over risk, leading to what some experts have called safetyism. You'll have seen people becoming hyper-fixated with equality in this era rather than encouraging freedom and competition, moving towards collectivism rather than individualism, globalism over nationalism. And this has all been increasingly defined by one word, woke. The woke era is the era that says the soft virtues are good and the hard virtues are evil. These are all we need, and these are evil over there. Now, it's a flawed concept, and it's going to lead to ultimately extremely disastrous consequences. It's going to lead us to a very dark place. But my belief that this era won't truly end until this ideology fails and fails spectacularly. It's got to be seen to fail. We'll talk more about that in the next video, but I just wanted to bring attention to a speech by one Helen Andrews that I believe happened a few days ago. I don't know Helen Andrews. This is the first time I've ever seen her or heard her, so I don't know anything about this person. But this popped up in my X feed the other day, and I got really excited when I heard her speaking, because in this speech, she's essentially talking about the trench theory. For about 10 years, it's felt like I've been trying to get this message across, saying this is the problem. This is how we understand the problem. And until we understand the problem, we can't get to a solution. So we need to understand this. And it's felt like I've not really been able to get these videos to carry far enough that they really make any difference. But for the first time, I'm hearing someone here who I think gets it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play her speech, but I'll keep the trench theory graphic around it to show how I think she's absolutely nailing it. She's getting it.
If you want to put it in a single sentence, you could say that feminization equals wokeness. Everything you think of as wokeness is simply an epiphenomenon of demographic feminization. Think about all the things that wokeness means. Valuing empathy over rationality, safety over risk, conformity and cohesion over competition and hierarchy. All of these things are privileging the feminine over the masculine. So if you have ever wondered why wokeness appeared out of nowhere when it did, that is my hypothesis, that all of the institutions that began admitting women in the 1970s eventually got enough women that they were able to reorient them. For example, women are consistently less supportive of free speech than men in surveys asking which is more important, protecting free speech or preserving an inclusive society. Approximately 2/3 of men say free speech, and approximately 2/3 of women say inclusive society. In moral reasoning, the traditional way of phrasing the difference between men and women is to say that women have an ethics of caring and men have an ethics of justice. In making a moral judgment, men will ask, what are the rules and what are the facts? Women tend to be more interested in context and relationships. So let's apply that to wokeness. When James Damore wrote his famous, or I should say notorious memo for Google, arguing that female underrepresentation in the hard sciences might not be the result of bias and prejudice, no one even attempted to argue that he was wrong on the facts. The reason that he was fired was because the things he had written might make his female coworkers feel bad. Or consider the Kavanaugh hearings. The masculine position was to say that maybe something bad happened to you, but if you do not have evidence, then we can't allow you to ruin a man's life and career over it. The feminine position was to say, how can you talk about rules of evidence? Can't you see she's crying? Now, to be clear, many women were revolted by the way the Kavanaugh hearings played out. In fact, the very best book on the Kavanaugh hearings was written by two women, Molly Hemingway and Carrie Severino. But a political system in which men predominate will tend to operate according to rules of facts and objectivity, and one in which women predominate will tend to operate by the rules of emotions and subjective facts, even if there are individual men and women who fall on the opposite side of those camps.
This is the very first time in 10 years. I first proposed this theory way back in 2016 in the War on Truth series, and this is the first time that I've heard these ideas being echoed by another person. And like I said, it's so exciting because if we can finally begin to understand the problem, if we can finally begin to converge and agree on what's actually going wrong, we can then get to work on a solution. We can come together to work on the solution. We can start to recalibrate and hopefully avert or mitigate at least against the disaster that surely lies ahead of us if we continue on this track towards left-wing extremism. But on that note, I'll stop it here. We'll pick this up again in the next video. And in that next video, we will use this framework to explain the way that world events are currently unfolding and perhaps even predict a few years into the future to where we can expect things to go if things continue on the current track. I'll pick it up in the next video.